Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of my Dark Souls video walkthrough. We saved Logan last time, and let's see how he's doing this time.
Hello there. I was expecting you. This place is truly magnificent, more than expected even. As promised, I shall share the new sorceries with you, and the secret of Seath's immortality. The secret of Seath's immortality. If you have fought him and were imprisoned, you must know that Seath is a true undead, different from ourselves. His wounds close promptly, and no mortal blow affects him, granting true insulation from death. His wounds close promptly, and no mortal blow affects him, granting true insulation from death. It is an effect of the primordial crystal, a sacred treasure pillaged by Seath when he turned upon the ancient dragons. So only by destroying the primordial crystal can you so much as scratch his hide. And it so happens, the primordial crystal is in the inner garden of these very archives, the Crystal Forest. The tomes stored in these archives are truly magnificent, a great pool of knowledge, the fruits of superior wisdom and an unquenchable desire for the truth. Some would say Seath had an unsound fixation, but his work is a beautiful, invaluable resource. All progress demands sacrifice, and I certainly bear no antipathy for that wonderful, scaleless beast.
And he now sells the final versions of his spells, the crystal magic.
Come again. The knowledge here is limitless. I would absorb it, then share it with you.
You should also note that he did repeat a line of dialogue there. That's not me messing up the editing, that's just a glitch in the game. The line is just there twice. Okay, so after we have talked to Logan here, we can actually return to Firelink. If you remember his fanboy or apprentice or whatever who was standing here, he now has something new to say.
Oh, there you are. Just so you know, Master Logan has left on his own again. It seems that he is still determined to find the famed regal archives in Anor Londo. I intend to search for him. Only before I leave, there is one thing I wish to do. You see, Master Logan has left most of his books. With them, I could teach you Logan's sorcery. You have done much to assist me. Before I leave on this journey, I will teach you all that Logan has to share. Oh, hello. You made it. Then let us begin. As promised, I shall bequeath Master Logan's sorcery to you.
And we can now buy additional copies of Soul Spear and Homing Soul Mass and basically all the standard spells that Logan was selling earlier.
Oh, Master Logan is at the archives. Thank the heavens. Finally, his wish has been granted. I suppose he has his head buried in those tomes. That's always what made Master Logan happiest. I can just imagine him now. I wish to do what I can to locate Master Logan. I am aware of my shortcomings, but I cannot very well just sit around here and rot. Oh, do not worry. I have considered our relationship. I will only leave after I have taught you all the sorceries that I know. I shall count myself lucky if I manage to locate Logan, or even return here in one piece. 2 things are required for
And we've been through this before.
All right. That'll do it. That should help you on your journey. May we meet again.
His quest will move on if you have bought all his spells, and I believe also both the rings that he sells. The rings I might be wrong about, the sorceries, you definitely have to buy those. That's why I bought them, even though a lot of them I'm never going to use. Alright, and now let's head into the last part of this whole section of the game. I haven't split the video up as much this time around, so you won't be getting to see every character. I'm just still experimenting around, so this time it's not going to be quite so many cuts and splits. And you open up the staircase. But there's actually one thing I wanted to show you. Underneath the staircase there's a chest which contains 20 prism stones. I'm not going to use them on this character, but I will show you why the game gives these to you at this specific place. It's not a random thing. They're really only used as way markers and to see if a certain drop is lethal. But yeah, there's a definite use for them in this area, which I will show you when we get to it. Now this forest is full of these golems, crystal golems. They are pretty resilient, especially to magic, but they are also very slow and kind of predictable. So it's not exactly difficult to kill them, even though it might take a bit of time, especially if your weapon is weak. And despite their high magic resistance, I would still recommend a magic user go here as soon as they can, simply because of all the loot you get for magic-based or intelligence-based builds. They can drop Blue Titanite chunks, and there's also a few scattered around as loot in this area. And you don't need to kill this guy, by the way. As you can see, his aggro range is tiny, and he's really not guarding anything. The only other thing in this forest is the crystalline set, which was worn by the NPC we encountered just before the first fight with Seath, where he inevitably killed us and put us into prison. But yes, Blue Titanite chunks are used to upgrade magic or enchanted weapons to the higher levels, so magic from +6 to +10, or +9 rather, and enchanted from +1 to +4 as well require Blue Titanite chunks. The final level, as always, requires a slab of the appropriate color, but there is one in this area as well, actually. And we're about to encounter the most annoying aspect of this area, which is the invisible crystals, or bridges, which I suspect are just supposed to be invisible crystals. Now this golem here is a lot stronger than the ones we encountered in the forest, but you can use this technique to basically make him fall to his death. Usually I wouldn't go to so much trouble to kill a standard enemy, but they do not respawn, and therefore you might as well. Now there are 3 crystal lizards in this tiny little cave part here. You're unlikely to get all of them in one go. So what you can do is kill as many as you manage to kill, and then reload your save. And the crystals will reappear. And you basically get as many tries as you need. Now, to get to the blue slab, there is more invisible walkways here, and this is not just a straight line. The ones we have to use to get to the boss are just straight lines. So there's not really much risk of falling down once you know where it starts and where it ends. You just walk in that straight line and you're perfectly fine. This one here is different. I don't know the precise shape of it, but it's not just a straight line running from the beginning to the item, which you can kind of see in the background. And this is where the prism stones come in handy. I've bought a few more just to be on the safe side. You can buy these from the female undead merchant, for example. But if you throw them, they leave a sort of bright marker on the ground in front of you. Just a few steps, but basically it tells you whether there is collision on the ground there or not. And if there isn't, they fall down and you get a different kind of sound effect. Sort of more shrill, shrieking sound, telling you it's not safe to walk there. They don't linger forever. I believe they're simply on a timer, but it might just also be that there's a maximum amount that can be loaded in an area or whatever. They definitely don't survive you dying, so they are temporary markers. But you can use them to basically check Can I walk forward another step, or will that be death? Yeah, the first time I tried to do it without, and it didn't end well. But just stick with the prism stones and you'll be fine. You can also use these snowflakey things that are falling down, because if you see them break apart, that basically means there is collision there, so there's a ground for them to land on. That's just if you don't have the prism stones anymore, or you threw them away, didn't find the chest, whatever. The game still gives you some help to find your way, but the prism stones are more reliable because you can actually control where they land. Whereas with the snowflakes, they are, I believe, entirely random, and they can still be a bit misleading. So you might think, okay, that one fell to the ground 2 meters ahead of me, so that's going to be fine, but there's actually a gap in between. That might be something that actually happens. But yeah, if you don't want to use the prism stones, feel free to try and rely on these snowflakes. And this corpse has a Blue Titanite Slab, which you need to use to make your enchanted or magic weapons as upgraded as they can be. So magic plus 10 or enchanted plus 5. And combined with the Blue Titanite chunks you get from this area anyway, from the lizards and from the drops and from the set item locations, this will probably be enough to make the enchanted falchion that was dropped by the Mimic into a maxed out plus 5. Right, now there is a second one of these huge golems that are not respawning, and he's right below me. And the corpse he's guarding isn't very valuable, it's just another blue chunk, so if you don't want it, you can completely ignore this guy. They are quite tough, and it's not exactly an ideal environment to fight them, because these bridges are very slim. And yeah, it can be quite difficult. But you can again use the enemy's pathfinding to basically make him kill himself. This pathway here is just a straight line, so again it's very easy to traverse. There's not many pitfalls here. And you can lure this guy right to this corner, which worked out. Alternatively, you can also lure him to the exact location I used to kill the first one. He leeches a little bit, but eventually he will follow you. And you can use the exact same trick to make him die. Sometimes he doesn't do that jump, and you have to basically reset and try again by luring him back up the crystal and then going back down and hoping that he'll do the jump attack this time. But it's probably the safest way to go about it, especially if you're on a low damage build and don't feel safe fighting him on these narrow crystals. And as you saw, that corpse just has a blue chunk on it. Now you have noticed already there are these butterflies around here. Again, the butterfly in the Darkroot forests, there will be a boss guide for that at a later point. But for now, there are more of them here. They only aggro if you get quite close to them, but they do aggro. And they're not exactly fun, they are quite annoying. However, they are the only enemies in the game that are capable of dropping Blue Titanite Slabs. There are 2 fixed ones in the game, one here and one in the DLC. But if you need more, or for whatever reason don't want to get one of the ones that are fixed, then these are the only enemies that can actually drop them. But their drop rate is low, so don't expect to farm a lot of them, because it's very tedious. Now these clams, they all appear to be sleeping, or resting, or whatever it is they're doing. And I would advise you to approach the group very, very carefully, because that way you can separate them and get them one by one. After you've killed that first one, you can go for the one in the corner here. They are pretty strong and can do a lot of damage. They also have a pretty powerful grab attack. However, they also stagger very easily, so if you time it just right, you can basically stun lock them even with a low damage weapon, because this is more about how much staggering power your weapon has, and basically as long as it has any, you'll be fine. Something very light, like maybe a dagger or the rapier, wouldn't work, but anything heavier than that, even a longsword, especially if you're two-handed, will stagger them with every single swing. So then you just need to wait for the stagger animation to end before you can stagger them again, and that keeps them stun locked, and it's very safe. As you can see, as long as I don't make any mistakes here, Clam will never actually be able to do anything. And these guys have a very good drop chance for Twinkling Titanite, so if you want to farm Twinkling Titanite, this is where you would do it. And they also have a decent drop rate for Purging Stones, which are used to remove curse from yourself. And it's no coincidence that they drop that, because this is actually a boss fight that has the ability to curse you. And one of the reasons I say to be quite careful when approaching these guys is that, firstly, fighting more than one at a time is a lot harder, because the whole stagger and stunlock thing doesn't work out. And secondly, the one that aggroes onto you first as you slowly approach is not necessarily the closest one. So one in the back might aggro before one in the front, as you've seen in this section that I've just shown you. So basically it's approach step by step. As soon as you see one move, step back and fight that one and kill it. That's the easiest way to deal with them, and especially the first time through, they are otherwise able to follow you into the boss fight, and that's a real hassle, and makes it a lot harder than it needs to be. So I would advise kill them all and take your time. It is worth it. If you die to the boss and have to try again, then you can just run past them, because then they can't follow into the boss room. But the first time around, as you can see, there's no fog wall, so the boss fight will just trigger as I enter it. And if there's clams following me, they might also be inside the arena. So we're now getting a cutscene. Now remember what the NPC has told us, that Seath is immortal because of the crystal that he has. And this cutscene makes it quite clear that is the crystal. So we will need to somehow destroy it before we can actually do any damage to Seath. If we try to damage him while that crystal is intact, the same thing happens that happens in the first encounter with him. He instantly heals any damage you deal to him. It's impossible to defeat him at that point. You need to destroy the crystal, but it's not exactly difficult. So again, I'm showing you a very quick and easy way to defeat the boss, and there will be a more extensive guide later on. What I do is I hide behind the crystal and basically let Seath approach me. And that is because once the crystal breaks, Seath will be stunned for a good few seconds, giving you some nice opportunities to get some damage in. And I want this to happen when he's close to me, so I don't have to run as far. And now I'm just spamming my Great Combustion. And usually the attack he opens with after the stun is over is not one that can actually hit me here, and he takes bonus damage when you attack that core of his. So 6 Great Combustions and he's dead. Easy peasy. Again, there will be a bigger boss guide for this. But that's it for the Crystal Caves. I hope you found this helpful, and I would love to have some feedback if you have anything. Have a good day, and bye bye.